This is Boxing Tickets NI in association with Vinyl Gentlemen. We're glad to say we're joined with Brett McGinty. How are you, Brett?
All good, Stephen. Nice to be here.
It definitely is. Obviously, you're getting a wee week's rest back home. You're obviously out at the weekend there, making your second pro fight. Pretty much, obviously, you've had two fights, now within 5 months. Obviously, during lockdown, I guess you sort of sometimes can look to the positives and go, I'm out, I'm active. Let's just start building the blocks.
That's it, 100%. It was a slow start for me, obviously, Stephen. Whenever I turned over pro, I was 4 days away from making my pro debut on the 21st of March, and then it turned out that it was cancelled. Actually, St. Patrick's Day, the 17th, it was cancelled, so I was 4 days away from making my pro debut, and then it ended up being, 6-7 months later. It was December then before I initially made my debut, and I was actually lucky, to be honest, to get out when I did and to get the opportunity from Hennessy Sports, because there's a lot of fighters that are still waiting and don't know where they're going, and they're all in and out of the gym training, taking over, trying to stay motivated and stay positive, and trying to get a date to come up. So it's tough for them. I know the feeling, but starting to get a bit of momentum now. 2 fights in the last, say, 4 or 5 months, and hopefully another one now on the 17th of July. So it's all good. It's good to get that activity and good to get that one of momentum back.
Fantastic, and it's obviously them getting you back out again so soon. Like, I guess, like when you were thinking back to last March, making your debut and not going ahead, I guess, COVID, everybody last March was sort of, I'll be here for a couple of weeks and then it'll be gone, and as obviously months go on. Like, did you come home then, obviously, when lockdown sort of happened? Or?
I came home, Stephen. I ever got a phone call on it was St. Patrick's morning, the 17th. It was a Tuesday. I was meant to weigh in on the Friday, and I got a phone call from Paul Speak, who's Ricky Hatton's agent / manager, and he just says, "Of bad news for you, that show's going to be pulled." And as soon as I came off the phone, I booked the first flight home because I was that sickened, because I'd been training, I suppose, for nearly 3 months for the debut, and even before Christmas I'd spent about 6 weeks in England, for my debut, but I kind of knew that I wasn't going to get it in before Christmas, so that was kind of just 6 weeks to get used to it and to learn the game a bit, I suppose. And then once I came back after Christmas, then we knew 21st of March was the date, so I'd been preparing for that for probably 10 weeks anyway, and then to get that news in the morning, I was like, I don't believe this. So I ended up coming home then, and I didn't actually go back to England again then until I think it was October time. Once we got the top end from Hennessy Sports that they were interested, and it looked like I was going to go down that route. And then obviously the 19th of December then was the show that they put me on. So I was, like, to be honest, as you say, like when COVID came about at the start, we all thought it was going to blow over after a couple of weeks, or at most maybe a month or two. But here we are over a year later, and we're still not completely over it. I know we're kind of getting there, and please God it stays that way. But it's not a distant memory yet. Like, it's still fresh in the minds.
Definitely is. And I guess obviously, like when you're coming up through box and everything else, and you get the, thinking of your pro debut, you're thinking of, walkout music, you're thinking of fans, you're thinking everybody going mad, all your friends and family and stuff there. Like, for you to make your debut behind closed doors, probably the last thing you probably pictured, you're thinking going, oh, my friends, my family and stuff's going to be there. And then you pretty much make your debut with British Boxing Board officials, maybe a few ones from, management and stuff like that, and that's it. And you're going, how do you G yourself up? I'm sure it's experience and a half.
Oh, it definitely is. That's something I was actually laughing to Ricky about whenever during the week there when we were coming up to the second fight, because we had there were some fans came over, family and friends and that came over to watch me. I had a fair bit of support now, to be fair. They made a lot more noise than you would have expected the amount of people they make. But we had a venue booked for us to go and have a bit of food and drink and that. And I said to Ricky, I just thank God for this. I said, last time I made my pro debut, we drove from Birmingham back to Manchester because I was flying home the next day. And I was sitting on the TV, watching the TV in the house that night with a bar of chocolate and a can of Coke, and I was thinking to myself, this is some celebration for your pro debut. So it was definitely nice to have a bit of sport over on Saturday night. As I was saying, like it sort of felt like that was my pro debut at the weekend,
Mm-hmm.
although it wasn't obviously, but I did sort of feel like that in a way because I was walking out and once I heard the fans singing my name and stuff like that there, kind of you get the shivers down your spine, the sort of thing you would expect to get in your debut, which to be honest I just didn't experience. But the important thing was I came through a tough fight and I got a win on my record, so all good.
Definitely is. And like, sometimes, you look at a lot of people turning over pro sometimes, and, journeymen get slated sometimes for obviously, the records and things like that in the sport. And like, to be fair, Brett, you've probably been toughly matched, and in good ways for you is you've had 2 4-rounders now, 2 solid tests, your debut, like it came to fight. It's not like you were being given handy ones. So in some respects, sometimes people look for the early KOs, whereas you're going, I'm getting the rounds banked. This is going to stand me in good stead because, your ideal is it potentially, obviously, you'll get fast tracked sort of as you go. Each opponent will be better. But like, you're probably going to go through a stage now. You're going to go, where's my first knockout? Um, are they going to give me a handy one here? Why am I getting matched better? I guess we things will start to play in your mind as each opponent, and sort of some people can look too much sometimes for the big knockout punch, and worry so much on it. It's just a case of just going through the motions so far.
Well, that's it. As I was actually a 6-rounder I done for my debut, so in 2 fights now I've 10 rounds under my belt. You know what I mean? That's Ricky said to me after the fight on Saturday. He says, "Son, you have 10 rounds under your belt after 2 fights." He says you couldn't ask for anything better for your apprenticeship. That's what he calls it. But the debut as well. It was a tough fight, obviously, and he was a southpaw, so there was kind of a lot. I ended up giving away nearly a stone weight as well, so there was kind of a lot that didn't go to plan for it. And I know Ricky wasn't too keen on taking the fight because it was so last minute, and there was a weight difference and there was this and that. But I just pretty much said, like, I can't afford another disappointment. I need to just get in and fight whoever it is. And then it stood to me. I won a tough 6-rounder, another good 4-rounder at the weekend. Showed a bit more of my skills, showed a bit more of my boxing ability, and showed that it was not just gun ho, because there was obviously a bit of pro debut nerves as well. In December, which probably factored into my performance with a wee bit more fatigue than I would have expected. But as you say, like, it's all about getting the rounds. I don't mean this in a big-headed way, but I think anybody that's sparred me or fought me would agree that at super welterweight, I do carry power, and I know that myself. Like, so, it's there if I ever need it. If I'm getting good, valuable rounds now at the start of my career, to stand me in good stead going forward, then I can't ask for any more.
Yep, exactly. And it's sort of looking at the positives of every fight. As I say, when you're giving away nearly a stone in your debut, you're going, it has to happen. And the good thing, we haven't been given a good test, that brings out the best in you as well. So it's that you can't sort of be lazy in throwing punches because an opponent's there and he's going to want to take your head off coming back.
Well, like, as you say, like, you just have to have that attitude. Whereas, obviously, it has to. If there's can only be a certain element of risk there. If it's too big of a risk, then you don't take it. It was just the fact that I'd been waiting so long. But that's the one bit of advice I've took from Ricky that I'll take forward with me in my career. He said, like, in this game, he says, your opponent can change the night before. He says the amount of times during my career where I've trained 6-8 weeks for one specific style, and then maybe the week of the fight, or he says even in cases the night before the fight, something's happened to the opponent, and I've ended up having a new one. He says you just have to go with the attitude that I'm ready, I'm prepared, whoever it is, and he says that's the way you're going about your business. And he says that is he says you're 100% right, but he said, I'm telling you now, if you weren't like that, you're in the wrong game, like, because things can change. Things can change in the blink of an eye, especially in pro boxing. That's one thing I've realised since I turned over, like, how quickly things can change. So, as long as I'm prepared, I know I'm fit, I know I've trained hard, I know I'm ready, then if the opponent it changes, then we just have to get on with it. It's happened for both fights so far. Hopefully it won't happen in the next one, but if it does, you know what I mean? It's just one of them things you have to take in your stride and get on with it, you know what I mean?
Definitely does. Sort of looking to sort of roll back as always do. We sort of everybody I sort of bring on for the first time. What age did you start out in boxing? And I believe you started out boxing just to obviously get fit for football.
I started when I was 9, Stephen, and started with my big brother Johnny. He was training just to get fit for football, and I was a wee bit fat as a kid, to be fair. So we were kind of going to try and get a wee bit of weight off me and try and get me fit to get me into the football, because we're all footballers. We're brothers. As you know, you're a big Korean fan.
Yeah.
Had a spell with Korean. We're just a footballing family. My uncle would have done a bit of boxing and my wee cousin, but other than that, it's we're all footballers. So that was the reason I started, and I suppose the more I got into it, the more I liked it, and it just grew on me. And I had a few exhibitions, and I really liked it. And then I just started boxing competitively, and I suppose here we are now. What do we see? 12 years later, 13 years later. So it worked out all right in the end.
It definitely does. And I think when you're always were you any good at football, or were you the levels of sort of Shane was, or was it sort of was it one of these sort of things where you're going, I feel like I'm better at boxing, or I like a punch in the face? What was it that sort of kept you just at boxing?
I don't. To be honest, I played at a fairly decent standard. I used to play with Maiden City, who were a good team at the time. I remember one day I boxed in an Ulster final in Pilots Row in Derry, and we played the semi-final Northern Ireland Cup that morning against Dungannon, and we beat Dungannon 2-0. And then I went straight off the pitch, straight to Pilots Row for the Ulster final. And I remember it was a freezing cold day. I mean, absolutely freezing. And I was warming up, and I was saying to Eugene, I was saying, like, I can't wrap my hands. My hands are too cold. So we were standing with a towel wrapped around my hand for 10 minutes to try and get my hands warmed up before I done anything. But it turned out all right, because I ended up stopping my opponent in the third round. But I remember that day very well. That was one of the better days. I was under 14. It was Northern Ireland Cup, and we won 2-0. We ended up getting beaten in the final, unfortunately. But I went straight off the pitch and straight to the Ulster final in Pilots Row, and I won that as well. So that was a very good day for me. But I played at a decent standard, to be honest. I was big into football. I love football. But then I just, as you say, I sort of realised then, I'm a bit better at the boxing, and I just, there was something about it that I really like. There's nothing that really compares to the winning feeling in boxing. Like, it's brilliant winning in football and winning a football match, but you share it with 10 other players in the pitch and the subs and the management and all. Whereas in boxing, it's you and your coaches, so it's just a different feeling altogether. And I suppose once I started getting that winning feeling in boxing, and knew I was half decent at it, and I thought, what, I'm going to go down this route.
And I guess it's just sometimes a thrill of getting punched in the face, or punching somebody in the face legally. If you punch somebody in the streets of Derry and a night out, you're getting lifted to the police, or one of his mates jumping in behind, and it ends up as like a 2 or 3 on 1. Whereas you're doing it in a ring, it's a controlled aggression, and I guess obviously there's no better feeling sometimes than knowing that you're a good standard and can punch and not be hit back, and can sort of get away with doing things you can't in the street.
Oh, absolutely. It's a lot better doing the punching than taking the punching, I would say. But no, it's the one thing about boxing too is the amount of discipline involved. Like, we go on amateurs, obviously you go and knock lumps out of your opponent, and he does the same to you for 3 rounds. But at the end of it, you shake hands with him and you shake hands with the corner, and it's there's no hard feelings. That's the beauty of boxing. Like, it's when the bell goes, it's absolute war, and then after it, you shake hands, and the best man will win.
Exactly. It's sort of, it's, sometimes you sort of think back as, why am I so big into boxing? And whenever you see that respect that, after a fight, you fight, and then, it's normally as a ritual, you sort of touch gloves and sort of shake hands or whatever, but it's a good ritual to have. It's respect after the fight's been done, and that's what sort of bodes well for boxing. Sometimes you go, let's have a bit of beef in the build up, and then it's like, hey, I was only joking, just trying to build the fight. It's phenomenal.
Oh, that's it. Some fighters are the absolute kings at it. Just to sell a fight. Their antics before fights, and then but you realise then once the fight's over and they shake hands that it was just to gather interest, and how right there. Do you know what I mean? It's more money, it's more revenue for them, and But then as soon as the fight's over, then it's, shake hands, good fight, and they move on to the next one.
Definitely, isn't it amazing? Obviously, looking at your amateur career, I'll sort of let you sort of explain a bit of this yourself. What was your record? Do you know, amateur?
I don't know exactly, Stephen. I'm probably about, I would say about over 120, 125 fights. I have about 20 odd internationals, and I've been I've been to the Europeans 4 times. I've been to the Commonwealth Youths, and I've been to the World Youths as well. So fairly busy in the amateurs now, and I suppose it kind of stands me in good stead getting into the pros, because I've had a lot of experience, and I've fought all over the world. So as amateur boxing has been very good to me. I've travelled a lot and I've seen a lot, and it's helped me big time.
And you must have obviously like a trophy room in the house, 8-time Irish national champion, European schoolboy bronze, Commonwealth Youth silver, and obviously your 2-time Irish elite finalist as well. The trophy cabinet's building up in the house there. You probably need an extra house just to cover all your trophies.
I know we've a fair few football trophies too, to be fair, but well, as you say about the Irish titles, the only one I never got was the elite, which hurts me to this day, to be honest. I considered staying amateur for a wee bit longer, just to try and get it. But I'm not to say that I ever would have, because elite titles are so hard to get. But having been so close, I lost to Dean Walsh in the welterweight final, and I did lose, to be fair. But I thought I was very unlucky now against Michael Nevin in the middleweight final, especially with the knockdown in the first round. I thought, I definitely done enough, but just popped at the post in a split decision. But it's only the age group where I never won an Irish title, and as I say, it does, it hurts me to the day, but it's just one of them things. I came so close and just didn't quite get over the line. But as I say, I've fair few Irish titles over the years, but that's just the one that I missed out on.
And obviously the hurt of obviously not getting an Irish title, I guess I'll probably boost, the elite title, I'll sort of boost you on more, where I didn't get something, so I know when it comes to pro titles and stuff like that, I know I have to sort of do wee bits extra. I guess you feel the fire to sort of bring the success.
Well, that's one thing about amateur boxing. You never have your own way, and anybody that does is a damn good boxer. You know what I mean? Even with decisions and stuff, some things that you think you're going to get, you don't get, and then maybe sometimes you get the nod where you thought, Jesus, maybe I was lucky enough there. That's the beauty of it. But I think it's a good thing at the same time if you don't have it all your own way, because there's nothing then to motivate you. If you keep winning and winning and everything's working out the way it should be, then what drives you on. But maybe the fact that missing out on them elite titles is what drove me on in the pros so far. Because I feel like I have so much more to achieve. Winning an Irish title as a pro now is an ambition of mine, along with other titles that go along with it. But that is definitely an ambition of mine. They have the Irish belt around my waist at some stage. So not having it your own way all the time is definitely should be something that motivates you. That taking them losses on the chin, building on the mistakes and working on them and taking them with you going forward.
I guess obviously, probably people will be listening in there as well, and just showing the maturity you have at such a young age that you can just go, you know what, didn't go my own way, but here I'll improve and I'll make it better. And I guess that's a sign of probably what's to come for you.
Well, I think that's the way every boxer should approach it. There's no doubt about it, Stephen. Losing hurts. It should hurt, and if it doesn't hurt, you're in trouble. You know what I mean? Whether that's football, boxing, whatever your sport is, losing hurts. And no matter what, it probably hurts a wee bit more in boxing because it's you and your own. That's what I was saying about the winning feeling in football is kind of like a shared feeling, whereas in boxing it's you. Everybody's all eyes are on you, I suppose, and it's obviously makes it worse then when you lose. So when you lose as a team, whereas in boxing all eyes are on you, you're the loser. So that for me motivated me. You know what I mean, and it motivates me going forward. Hopefully, I'll have very few. Put it this way: hopefully, I'll have as little losses as possible in the pros. But so far, I'm on a winning streak, and I want to keep it going for as long as possible. And as I say, the titles that motivate me, the Irish, the European, and then please God, eventually a world title if I keep doing my job. So they're the kind of things that motivate you and keep you going every day.
Definitely does, and it's refreshing to sort of see sometimes, sometimes when you get somebody on, and doing an interview or things like that, they're going to be a world champion. You're not obviously just going out there and going to be a world champion because everybody says it. Your dream is to be a world champion, but you're going,
absolutely.
Hopefully I'll get there. It's not putting all your eggs in one basket and going, I need to work hard at it.
Well, it's very simple. Like anybody turning over in the pros, the ultimate goal is to be world champion. Absolutely is. Not everybody's going to be world champion, but I'm going to do absolutely everything in my power to be there one day. You know what I mean? I have all the opportunities I need. I'm being promoted now by Hennessy Sports, who are an absolute top organisation. I have Ricky Hatton training me, who's been there and done it as a fighter, and he's also been there and done it as a coach with Zanat Sakianayov, who fought Ryan Burnett. So, I have all the opportunities. All I have to do is keep up my end of the bargain and keep training hard and keep improving every day. And eventually, hopefully, we'll get there. I'm willing to do my end of it. You know what I mean? I'm willing to work every day and improve every day. So with that recipe, hopefully we'll go far and hopefully we'll get there.
I'm glad you pronounced the Zanayakov name there because I just got used to the stage of calling
that could be a bit dodgy, to be honest. I was going to say my pronunciation could be a bit dodgy, but I usually just go with Zanat. I went for the second name there as well, just to make sure everybody knew who I was talking about. But that could be a wee bit dodgy now, in fairness.
I think it's a Northwest thing for us. Obviously I'm originally from Korean as well. I think it's a Northwest thing where we think we're confident in saying a name and we're so far out.
I could be miles away there. I wouldn't trust it anyway, put it that way.
Definitely not. So obviously there's been a lot of talk recently on obviously amateur boxing and obviously with the pandemic and things like that, Olympics and stuff being pushed back. And I'm reverting sort of back to Dee Walsh. Obviously he's obviously a now well-respected coach, but obviously a former boxer as well. It seems to be a lot of amateur boxers now don't seem to be interested in the Olympic cycle and things like that. Was that always the case for yourself, or was it just a case of, we'll just see what happens?
To be honest, Stephen, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but the Olympics was never a goal for me. Would I love to be an Olympian? Absolutely, but it was always, for me, it was always turn pro, become world champion. That was, when you were growing up and watching the likes of Joe Kawasaki and then Carl Froch and Triple G and all them lads like that. That's what I really, really wanted to be. Don't get me wrong, the Olympics is an unbelievable achievement for anybody that gets an opportunity to be an Olympian. But it just was never something that I dreamed of. I'd been told from an early age that he'd make a good pro, he's a pro style, and he's come forward, aggressive fighter. So maybe that kind of got in my head, and I just slowly but surely built my my ambition to turn pro, my ambition to do well in the pros. Don't get me wrong, if I had the opportunity to go to the Olympics, or if I had the opportunity to qualify for the Olympics, I would have done everything in my power to do it. But it was never it was never a dream of mine to be an Olympian. It was always, the dream was to be world pro champion. You know what I mean?
And I guess sometimes it's a 4-year cycle. Obviously this year it's ended up in a 5-year cycle. But when you've seen obviously the likes of, I guess I'll probably use it the good reference, Mick Conlon, getting robbed in the Olympics. I guess for a lot of amateur boxers and are going, do I really want to go through the same thing where you get robbed, where you worked so hard for 4 years to get somewhere, and then they get robbed in a decision, because corrupt judges and everything else, and you're going, what's the point? Turn pro, and if you get robbed in a fight, then you can get back there again a lot sooner than waiting 4 years.
Well, the thing about boxing, Stephen, and it's the same in professional boxing as it is an amateur. It's an objective sport, so there's always going to be differences in opinion. But the problem with amateur boxing is there's just genuine corruption. So there can be differences of opinion where one judge likes the aggressor, the other judge likes the counter puncher. You know what I mean? So, there might be a close round, and one judge might go for the aggressor, the other judge might go for the counter puncher. That's fair enough. That's just a difference in opinion. Whereas, in amateur boxing, I would like to hope it's they're at a better stage now than they were. But that 2016 Olympics was just absolutely ridiculous. what happened to McConnell and what happened to that heavyweight, that Kazakh heavyweight. He was robbed, and even Joe Joyce in the final. Like, I thought Joe Joyce won the gold medal as well, but there were just some horrible decisions, and I don't know what was going on. It was either pure, genuine bad judging, people who just don't know boxing, or it was corruption. And that, like, I think that done amateur boxing no good, obviously, because there's young people watching that there, and if they were, kind of stuck between two, where where they had like an opportunity to turn pro, or they had the opportunity to maybe hang about and get the opportunity to qualify for the Olympics, and I think that would have pushed them the other way. So, like, I would like to hope they've kind of cleaned it up a bit by now. But to be honest now, I have to say I don't miss it. I don't miss it at all. I really like now this new setup, just everything about it. It's a new goal for me now to do well in the pros, and I don't miss that. You think you won 3 rounds, but you're going out to the middle of the ring, sweating it out, not knowing if you're going to get the nod or not. But I would like to hope it's especially at international level, at where I said earlier on about all eyes are on boxing at the Olympics. For boxing fans and boxing people. If it's going to happen on the highest stage, then you're in real trouble. Like, it's one thing that happened at a local show or something. The local show for on a Friday or Saturday night, but if it's happening on the biggest stage of them all at the Olympics, then it's not doing anybody any good.
Yeah, exactly. So it's the apple core is completely rotted, and obviously it's branching itself the whole way out. You had a few offers, I believe, and obviously turning over. Do you want to say sort of on camera who was sort of interested in signing you, and what sort of finally made you give in and obviously sign with Sheer Sports Management?
I had a couple of offers, Stephen, as you say, to turn over pro, and it probably took me a wee bit longer than I thought it would. Than I thought I actually would, because I had my last fight in, I think it was February 2019, and it didn't actually turn over then until I think it was the end of October. So it took me a bit of time, but I think I done right taking that bit of time to make the right decision. I went over to LA. Sheer Sports suggested the Ricky Hatton partnership, so I went over to Ricky and spent a week there training with Ricky, Blain, and all the lads, and to be honest, really liked it. Had a spar over there, done a bit of pads, just seeing how we gelled, and if his coaching style would suit me, and if my fighting style would suit him, just kind of to see how it would go. And it went really well, to be honest. And then I came back, and then we contacted Sheer Sports and said we were really happy, and Ricky's side done the same. They says they'd be really interested in training me. So then it was kind of a stage where I had to sort things management wise with Sheer Sports. So then I went to LA, and we sorted that out, and I signed with them. But to be honest, there was a couple of offers, and I didn't really know what to do until I went over to Manchester and spent the week, and then I went to LA to meet the faces that I've been talking to and negotiating with, and I was really, really happy, really encouraged by everything, and I knew then once I came back that I'd made the right decision, and I was just excited to get going. Then I suppose it probably took a wee bit longer than I would have hoped to make my pro debut, but what's done is done now, and I'm 2-0, and I'm looking forward to what's to come.
And I guess the good thing with you making that time and taking a bit longer is you're making the right decisions. So many times people can obviously jump in and go and sign a pro contract, I'm doing this and doing that, and then they regret it later on. Whereas you've taken the time, you've obviously built the trust with them, seeing them there in person, seeing what their ambitions are for you, so that that 5 or 6 fights in the line, you're not going, I need a new trainer, I need a new management, that everything's all secured for you.
No, that's 100%. I would just advise anybody that's considering pro offers or considering turning pro now, like, just take your time. There'll be plenty of time for fighting. Like, if I'm being honest, that I wanted to take as long, not that it took overly long, but it probably took a wee bit longer than I was hoping for me to sign over at the start. But I would just advise anybody that's in a similar situation that I was in, just to take your time, make the right decision. An extra month or 2 or 3, whatever it may be, won't make a real massive difference in the end up, as long as you've made the right decision. And if you take that extra time and you make the right decision, then it'll all be worth it then.
Exactly, and as I say, it's a good lesson for anybody sort of turning over there as well. Obviously, initially training with a legend like Ricky Hatton, how long did it sort of take you to get over the fact that you sort of were giddy and were going, I'm training with a legend, I'm training with a legend. Did it take you a period of time of doing that, or are you just going, I need to impress from the kickoff?
No, well, I was overly impressed even whenever I went over at the start. I was always in my head was make this man want to train me. Do you know what I mean? That was always in my head. Whatever I have to do to make him go away at the end of the few days or whatever and say, your man can fight. I want to train him. But it was actually when me and Eugene got there at the start because Eugene O'Keefe, my amateur coach, went over along with me for the time I spent over there.
Mm-hmm.
I remember we were just walking into the gym and Ricky pulled into the gym and his Rolls Royce was custom number plate. And I remember just scratching my head thinking, holy Lord, this man's coming on to train me now to see if I'm any good. And that was kind of a moment where I thought, right, I need to book up my ideas here and make sure I impress this man. But no, that was always in my head. It wasn't really I didn't really get the chance to be in awe of Ricky Hatton because all was in my head was I need to impress this man, you know what I mean? Whatever I had to do so to make him want to train me, and thankfully I did that, and here we are now, 2 fights in, and to be honest, I think we're building a good relationship with me, Ricky, and Blain Younis is there as well. He'd be another trainer in the gym, another top trainer, and I think we're building a really good relationship, and as I feel like I'm improving all the time.
And I guess obviously with Ricky's son obviously turned over Campbell as well now. I guess in some ways obviously Campbell's got a massive following because of who his dad was. It's probably going to be good for you in a way to sort of mix in as much as possible with him because it's going to be no time before he's going to be the big burner for Manchester sort of coming through and thinking of him selling out venues. The two are going to sort of come at the same sort of level and you're going, I can sit in his coattail here. I'm going to go far in the sport.
Well, that's it. To be honest, I think for how much Ricky Hatton was loved and supported, I could only imagine it would be the same for Campbell. They look like twins. They act the same. Everything about them is the same. It's just like a younger version of Ricky, to be honest. And he's a very, very hard worker. Like Campbell, although Campbell trains him Campbell will be in the gym very often, sparring with Abby and Jack. They're 2 boys that train along with us, and he's a real hard worker, and he's just he's somebody who didn't really have the amateur background coming into the pro game. He probably only had 25 or 30 fights, so he was kind of inexperienced. So with somebody with the work ethic he has, and that determination and that will, he's somebody who could do well. People did relate him back to Conor Ben, who started off and didn't look like he was going to do much and has now excelled and looked really, really good in the pros. Campbell is somebody like that, somebody with the work ethic, somebody who has that, bit in the genes where obviously his dad was a multiple world champion. He's a kind of boy that could just, he could learn very quickly and end up doing very well because he's a hard worker, and to be honest, he's a top lad.
And I guess obviously you'll be pulling the genes from Ricky there as well and bringing the traits he had. Ricky's probably one of the most vicious body punchers there ever was. And, when you think back the last 20 or 30 years and you're going, if I can get wee traits like that off him, you could be nearly like a son of Ricky as well, where you're sort of going, Ricky's that proud of you and going, that's my son, but not in the birth certificate sort of way,
No, that's it, 100%. But the body punching was always a strong part of my game as well, and the amateur. So that's just my fight there at the weekend. For example, I knew he was a very slippy opponent, so it was most of my success was body punching, and it probably will be going forward. But I'm learning from one of the best. He was a vicious body puncher who had his left hook to the body would have cut you in two. So I can only learn from him. I would like to think my body punching is at a relatively good standard, but I can only improve under him. You know what I mean? That man telling me the right things to do and show me how to do them. So I'm looking forward to it. As I say, I feel like I'm improving all the time, and hopefully we'll continue in that direction.
Definitely, fingers crossed. And sort of how actively, and obviously I know you're going to be back out now in July, but how active are you sort of hoping to be?
Well, I think I'm going to be very active, to be honest, Stephen. We're hoping to get maybe 6 in the first year, and that was in December. Although I was meant to go in March there, that show was put back because they wanted to get a few fans in, which we did there at the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
I'm back out in July again now, 17th of July. I'm not sure what's going to be next after that, but put it this way, Mick Hennessy has the ability to run shows with or without COVID. So although I feel like we're on the way to COVID being like a distant memory. Please God, like if something did come up where these variants or something like that, there, I know I'll still be fighting. That's what's most important to me, because obviously I fought my debut behind closed doors. I had this fight now where there was fans at it. Whereas whatever happens in the future, at least I know I'll be fighting as long as I keep myself fit and ready and fit and healthy. So that's a big plus. So hopefully now, I'm not sure what'll be the plan after July, but I know I'm fighting 17th of July, and probably the next show Mick Hennessy runs after that, then I'll likely be on it.
Yeah, but I think Mick's got obviously the potential. I think from before the pandemic sort of kicked in, where he was sort of doing a show nearly every month or every 2 months. So you're going to fight as active, be as active as you want to be.
Well, that show before Christmas, for example, like on the 19th of December, Mick ran one that week before. So Stephen McGinty had two fights in a week there, in December. So I'm not saying that's going to be what I'm doing, but that just shows you how often when he was running the shows. He had 2 in Redditch in a week. He just booked out the hotel, had 2 hotel bubbles where it's not as strict now as it was then, but you had to stay in the room for 24 hours. You weren't allowed outside of the hotel to mix with other people. It was at it where COVID was at its strictest. And Mick was we were in complete lockdown at that stage, and he was able to run 2 shows in 2 weeks. So that's very, very positive. Just to know that whatever happens, as long as I'm good to go, then I will be fighting.
Yep, exactly. And sort of what sort of is your ideal sort of weight you're going to campaign at? Have you sort of figured that out yet? Will you come down? Will you move up?
My weight will be super welter, 154. I weighed him for my first fight about 159, although my opponent was like 172. But that's that was the plan. I was just meant to come in under middleweight for this fight. I was 158, so it was £2 under middleweight, just £4 over light middle or super welter. So when the time comes, please God, when I'm fighting for titles, it'll be super welter 154. So that'll be my weight then for the foreseeable anyway, and we'll take it from there.
Definitely, and I say it'll be obviously a nice welcome addition. And I say your plan to sort of Irish titles and things like that. I can guess I can sort of start thinking of good fights that can be made for that. Obviously, Hennessy Sports have obviously recently said that they would like to bring boxing back to Irish shores. Obviously, Derry City Promotions, and obviously a lot of your, a lot of the boxers yourselves, obviously yourself, Tyrone, Sean, Conor, and even Jason Quigley, obviously all in the northwest direction. Is it sort of something you've spoke about and the potential of maybe one day getting a show back in Derry?
It's definitely a priority. Mick Hennessy, it was something suggested to me when I first met him. That was one of the things he said was getting a show back across the water for you and Stevie. That's what he said to me. He also said that Channel 5 would be interested. He says, I know it's not. He says, I know it'll be a bit down the line, but he said Channel 5, if you can keep doing what you're doing and keep winning. Channel 5 would be interested in, they would come back for a European title fight. So if I'm in a position where I'm able to top the bill for a European title fight, then Channel 5 would be willing to come across the water as well and to take their run the show. Obviously, then the other thing is Stevie's a bit ahead of me in his career. He's 8-0, I'm only 2-0, so he's probably a bit more down the line than I am. So there's a possibility they could come to run a show where Stevie's tapping the ball, and then that'll obviously give the opportunity for the likes of me and other Irish fighters around, not just the northwest, I suppose, around Ireland to get a chance to fight at home. I would say I would like to think Mick would be looking to get it. Obviously, there'll be Hennessy sports fighters that'll be the majority, making up the majority of the show. But there's a high possibility that he may put a few fighters from the Northwest or a few Irish fighters, or even an Irish fight, an all Irish fight on the show to get Irish interest and to get the fans in the arena. So I think it's good news for everybody, to be honest. It's definitely good news for me, obviously being under the Hennessy Sports banner, but I think it's good news for everybody, the fact that there is a well respected promoter that's that has ambitions to bring boxing back to Ireland, because we've kind of been starved with it over the years. I know there's been quite a bit going on in Belfast, but outside of Belfast, I think that's it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Even in Dublin, we're trying to run shows ever since that thing with the shooting happened. It's been a bit of a nightmare. So I think it's good news for everybody, the fact that McHenessy has shown a genuine interest in Irish boxing and a genuine interest in bringing boxing back to Ireland, because it'll be great for us, the fighters, and it'll be great for the fans as well.
Definitely, the more boxing shows we have, as I say, I would obviously class Belfast as the capital city of boxing, obviously just for the fact that there was such a lot of big shows and stuff. But Irish boxing, obviously, particularly in the south, has been starved so much. And I know Mick has obviously a good relationship with Leonard Gunnan of Boxing Ireland, so I'm guessing obviously he's starting to lick his lips at the thought of going, let's get a show back here and a lot of fighters in action.
Absolutely.
Obviously, you've title aspirations, obviously, of winning an Irish title and obviously moving forward. I guess, obviously, it'd be nice to, rather than going the SSE, they obviously support Paul McCluskey in the past, or obviously Frampton and everybody else. The potential, I guess, is for yourself, maybe fighting high up the card or headlining the card of the SSE in the future.
That'll be amazing, Stephen. Do you know what I mean? That's the kind of things to dream of. Walking out in the packed arena where you're headlining a fight card for a belt, hopefully. Do you know what I mean? That's the stuff you dream of. That's the stuff that motivates you every day in the gym to make sure you're working hard. So I know we're only starting out and we're a bit away from that yet, but they're the kind of goals you have to be aiming for, and hopefully eventually we'll get there.
Definitely is. Obviously another man not too far away from you is fighting the weekend. Did you catch any of Conor Coyle's fight yet?
No, I didn't actually. I seen the article in Irish Boxing about it was meant to be. I just seen it was meant to be a 10-rounder, and then it ended up being 6 because of the rain or something.
It
Sounds
was
a bit
unbelievable.
Rare having rain in Mexico, wasn't it?
I'll have to send you through the link to it. Funny, me and Joe and a couple other ones were watching it, obviously through the Irish boxing sort of thing. But we were watching it the other night, and it was sort of going, you're waiting for a surfboard and armbands and ring it out. And I think Conor actually messaged me back on Saturday and going, unbelievable,
well, I mean,
like, between rounds and everything else.
Crazy. I didn't actually see it, Stephen. I just seen an article about it. But the most important thing is Conor got the win, and it's a bizarre circumstances. But what can he do? You know what I mean? When that's just life getting in the way. There's nothing you can do about it. And he done his part of the job, got the win, and whatever way you look at it, is another one on his record, and it's another one from moving forward. But it's definitely a first for me now. I've never heard anything like it.
I can only imagine, obviously, getting hit with gloves normally. It'd be sore enough as it is, but getting hit with soaked leather gloves, I'm sure it's like playing with a burst football. When you play with football and then it bursts, and then obviously you're going for a tackle with somebody, and it's torture. But I'm guessing obviously Conor will plenty of stories to say that I fought open air in Mexico or Cancun, and obviously it just lashed down and having to clean the ring between rounds.
Definitely. No, I don't think there'll be too many people will be able to top that story as far as boxing goes, anyway.
Definitely not. And obviously, another man close to his fighting this weekend, Jason Quigley, obviously has a big fight in America. It's, I guess, obviously everybody's known of Jay's talents for quite some time, but I guess this fight this weekend is putting him in a massive position.
It's a huge fight, to be fair. It's kind of like a crossroads fight for Jason. He believes that this is the new him now. The new start to his career, like a fresh start for him. To be honest, I don't know a lot about Mosley. I've watched a couple of clips there on YouTube this week just to try and get an idea about him. But one of the videos I watched, he looked very impressive, and then the other one he looked bang average, to be honest. So it's kind of hard to to make an assumption of what Mosley's going to turn up, but I'll be very confident that an informed Jason Quigley beats the best or the worst of Shane Mosley. It doesn't matter. So hopefully everything goes right for Jason, because he's one of the good guys in boxing, and he's one of the most talented fighters this country's ever produced. It hasn't just quite clicked for him yet in the pros, but hopefully this is the start of it now, and at the weekend, and he can push on to bigger and better things.
And I'd obviously the potential there of fighting Canelo, obviously not so long ago as well. And now he's got a massive platform in the zone, which seems to be taking over, broadcasting and boxing. So, there's no reason why pretty much every home north and south of Ireland shouldn't be tuning in to watch at $1.99 a month this weekend.
I would I actually just subscribed to the zone for the Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo fight. I couldn't understand how it was so cheap, $1.99 a month. I was sure they were going to, coming up to I say on the Friday, say right, it's an extra 20 quid or 30 quid or something or whatever, just for the Canelo fight. But it's crazy. It's the best of boxing coverage for $1.99. You'd be mad not to get it, to be honest. And as you say, Jason, the local man, on it this weekend. So hopefully he can get the win, and hopefully he can push on to the world title fights or even the Canelo fight or whatever comes up. But most importantly, get the win on Saturday night, and then see where it takes him.
Definitely, and I say we're fingers crossed that he does the goods. We've sort of got the end of sort of question stuff we have for you. Obviously, this is now the point where we sort of give you a chance to shout out obviously any sponsors and stuff you have, because I say we're not biased, and obviously anything sponsors are a massive part to what you're going to do in your boxing career. Obviously sometimes when we put you on the spot, we do sort of put a disclaimer out there to say you haven't known about this, and so if you forget anybody, it's sort of you haven't forgotten them in badness.
Nah, the only sponsor I wanted to give a shout out to, Stephen, would be the Bentley Bar in Derry. They've supported me since I was 13. When I won that European schoolboy bronze medal, Tony O'Connor has been sponsoring me since then. So he's stuck by me for a long time, and it doesn't matter if Brett McGinty's fighting for a Irish title in 5 years' time, or he's fighting for the undisputed world title in 5 years' time. They'll always be on my shorts, and they'll always be a part of my team. So big thanks to him, and as you say, any other sponsors. It's a big part of boxing. It's what boxers need to just cover costs for training camps and for nutrition and stuff like that there. So it's just one of them things you need to help you on your journey, and any support is greatly appreciated, and any support's welcome.
Definitely. As I remember, obviously the Bentley ones, obviously I think Tyrone McCullough was fighting in Titanic Exhibition Centre, and obviously you'll know from them coming to your fights and stuff as well, they do not keep quiet from the first bell. Probably about 3 or 4 fights before until afterwards, they're just a different breed. They just won't stop.
To be fair, it's not just me supports now, or the Bentley group. It supports all the pro boxers in there. So that fair play to them. You know what I mean? They're giving all the help. All the help they've been asked for, and even my amateur club as well, Oakleaf. They've supported Oakleaf throughout all my time there, and I've no doubt they'll do it in the future as well. So as you say, that they're there to make plenty of noise, but to give plenty of support as well. So that's what it's all about.
So obviously, if there's anybody looking obviously in the interview or listening in, obviously your DMs are pretty much open, or obviously things like that, so that sponsors can get involved.
Yeah, well, that's it. As I say, it's just one of them things you need as a boxer, just to help with expenses, and any helps, appreciate it.
Definitely is. Anything else you want to add in?
No, just thanks for having me on, Stephen, and thanks to everybody for the support. Really appreciate it all. Had a lot of support there, to be honest, on social media before my last fight, and well done's after it. So I appreciate all the support, and hopefully in the not too distant future I can bring a title fight home, or bring a title home, and give us something to celebrate about.
Definitely. Well, Brett, listen, obviously it's been a pleasure getting to know you a bit more. Obviously I think it's nearly about an hour we've nearly been running now, so you've obviously spoke with confidence and stuff throughout, and we'll obviously look forward to obviously your next fight being announced, and I'm sure we'll catch up for another interview soon.
Absolutely. Cheers, Stephen. Thanks for having me.
100%, Brett. Cheers. Take care. Thanks. Bye bye. Bye bye.